Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the AquaHacking 2023-2024 Great Lakes Challenge. And our challenge for you and your different teams today is the Microplastics Challenge. My name is Jim Merkowitz. I'm a senior manager with Xerxes, in charge of our technical programs for our different stormwater markets. And with me on this challenge is
Haley. I am the Great Lakes Regional Coordinator for the Marine Debris Program within the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. I'm based in Michigan and look forward to working with you all on the Microplastics Challenge along with Jim.
Let's begin with our challenge statement. Microplastics are a prevalent and pernicious problem, especially in the Great Lakes. Researchers from the Rochester Institute of Technology found that nearly 10,000 metric tons, or 22 million pounds of plastic debris, enter the Great Lakes every year from the United States and Canada. Given the scale of this problem, this challenge requires participants to develop creative, downstream market solutions for the detection, monitoring, sequestration, and elimination of microplastics in Great Lakes watersheds before microplastics are able to reach the Great Lakes. Therefore, our suggested focus areas are green infrastructure or stormwater management, manufactured treatment devices, and structural mitigation ideas.
Thinking about the problem broadly, global plastic production has risen sharply in recent years and is projected to continue on this upward trend. More plastic production means more plastic waste produced. And while there are various methods of disposal for plastic, such as recycling, incineration, and landfilling, this waste can often leak into our natural environment, either intentionally or unintentionally. This brings us to the definition of microplastics. Defined during a 2009 meeting of international leaders, including NOAA representatives, microplastics are pieces of plastic that are smaller than 5 millimeters in size. Think of the size of a pencil eraser or smaller. However, they are not smaller than 1 micron, as this is the upper cutoff for nanoplastics. They can enter the environment from many sources. Those that are intentionally manufactured to be small, such as microbeads and pre-production pellets, are a primary source. Microplastics that fracture off of larger plastic objects due to degradation from the sun, wind, waves are considered a secondary source. And microplastics are of concern because they can easily be ingested by animals and humans. They also have stronger binding ability with other pollutants, which adds to the harmful health impacts.
So as we looked at the different options that are going to be available when it comes to the different classifications and the sizing of microplastics, let's kind of take a look at three options for consideration. 1 to 5 microns is a small scale and may require more of a physical or chemical breakdown process or capturing type process. Now, then that solution would have to be able to be absorbed by the marketplace. So as your different teams are getting together, looking at the different options, the different scales of microplastics, there may not be one silver bullet that's going to be able to capture all the different size particles, but you may look at different options there for capturing these different sizes that are going to be evident in the marketplace. And again, it has to be affordable by the municipality, by the state, by the project owner themselves. Option 2 is something that's going to be more familiar in the marketplace already, with those capturing those different size particles of 5 to 300 microns for typical type construction projects. And that this type of stormwater particle, again, is part of the stormwater management system, 5 to 300 microns, and many of the different manufacturing treatment devices are used to capturing sediment of that size, but not microplastics. So in a few more slides, we'll get into the differences. Lastly, you have a third option of you getting into a different size particle, which is larger, which may trigger more of a trash capture type of mechanism when you look at like drinking water bottles. So again, you have three different options here, and as Haley alluded to, the degradation process is different wherever you go. You're going to have plastic running up on beaches and breaking down through the waves and the rocks, and you're going to have the different sized particles, or you're going to have the breakdown on the roadways or in the environment themselves, which we'll get into on another few slides. Next. So let's take a look at the environment themselves, and we'll just kind of take a look at three of these. We'll look at tire wear particles, turf fields, and the plastic textiles. Now, tire wear particles, you know, we've all been to an automotive shop, and tires are oftentimes getting replaced on vehicles. Well, it's because all the tire wear is being worn off on the pavement. Then the rain events come, then wash that tire wear down into the storm sewer or down into the ponds, into the lakes in the Great Lakes region, which is the major source of the microplastics. Tire has the vulcanization with the microplastics themselves. Turf fields, we've a lot of times have often either been on a turf field, walked on a turf field, and those microplastics are available, evident as well. Lastly, we get into the microfibers from the different textiles, is where these are all different types of common microplastics that are going to be in the environment. Haley?
Thanks, Jim. And segueing from the common types of microplastics, here's a graphic that illustrates how they and other pollutants can make their way into our watersheds and eventually the Great Lakes. As rainwater makes its way through our built environment, it travels across lawns, roads, and then into stormwater infrastructure. All along the way, microplastics from tire wear particles to microfibers and consumer debris, along with other types of pollutants, are transported and again make their way into our larger bodies of water.
So looking at a surrogate for a microplastic, something that's going to be a type of recipe, a type of repeatable process for manufacturers to take and test their products. One very common element that's out there is a tire wear particle, because it is something that we would have to identify as a source, where to get this source, how to get the different particle size distribution, so that manufacturers can test their different products for the capture of microplastics. So tire wear particles is indeed one source. The industry is the stormwater industry is in its infantile stage of looking at different surrogates for microplastics. And currently the tire wear particles has probably received the majority of the traction through the different reports and the different university findings as a surrogate to test microplastics. Next. As I mentioned earlier, polyethylene, polypropylene. Let's talk about the different densities of thermoplastics as it compares to sediment. So as we know in the stormwater management industry, sediment is oftentimes captured, and you can see in the picture on the how the sediment will, through Stokes' law, will tend to settle through the water, creating a type of murky water, whereas a microplastic with a different density will tend to float on the surface. So the manufactured treatment devices that are in the industry today and are affordable by the project owners are used to capturing sediment. However, the density when you get to the microplastic side will be different. So we'll have to keep that in mind, and your teams will have to kind of keep that in mind as you're developing your solutions. With that, Haley?
Now let's focus on another common microplastic example that we've touched on, which are microfibers in the environment. These can be synthetic, such as polyester, semi-synthetic, such as rayon, or even chemically modified natural fibers, such as dyed cotton. On average, the microfiber scale is 0.2 to 4 millimeters long and 20 microns in diameter, illustrating the very small scale of the issue. Microfibers are secondary microplastics because they break apart from larger objects like the clothing we wear every day. These fibers shed from our clothing from everyday use or shed during the washing and drying process. Even fishing nets and ropes on vessels can also shed microfibers directly into the environment. And now that takes us to our call to action for you all for this challenge with some ideas and suggested research questions. First, think how can an owner of a property, either residential, commercial, or governmental, detect microplastics in their stormwater runoff and use that information to mitigate further effects? Secondly, how would you commercialize a product for microplastics detection, monitoring, and maintenance in stormwater infrastructure so that way it is effective as a market tool?
Next, should the solution be approached as a retrofit or front-end construction? What is meant by that? Is there any existing infrastructure already underground where a device can be retrofit into an existing structure to then capture microplastics? Or, which might be easier for the industry, is front-end construction. Again, but you're going to have a majority of existing infrastructure that will have to be retrofitted, and you're going to have new construction projects that will need these devices. Next, identify an industry test, something that's going to be a repeatable recipe by the different manufacturers out there. And again, the suggested focus area for the Great Lakes region: GI, green infrastructure, stormwater management, MTDs, manufactured treatment devices, or any of the structural mitigation ideas. And with that, Haley, please close us out. Thank you.
Great. And yes, we have some select references that we use throughout our presentation listed here, which we encourage you to look into and can share additional resources after the presentation. And with that, Jim and I would like to thank you for your time in considering participation in the AquaHacking Challenge for the Great Lakes. We hope you consider the microplastics topic and hope you have a great day.